Welcome to Season 6, Episode 7 of the Family Travel Australia podcast. We are Paul, Katie and Jasper from the Feel Good family. Join us as we explore this great country, Australia, its people, places and cultures.
Yes, welcome to the Family Travel Podcast, where we share the latest in RV industry news, road trip travel, caravanning, camping, product reviews, where to go, what to do, and so much more. Thanks for joining us again.
Yes, indeed. And this week we continue our four-wheel drive adventure on the world's largest sand island, including a visit to Central Station, Kagari Beach Resort, the Maheno shipwreck, champagne pools. How good does that sound?
Amazing.
Dingoes, police, and so much more. Welcome.
Talk about falling in love with a destination. Fraser Island, Kagari, as it's known. Oh, what an incredible place. I tell you what, Mother Nature certainly did good over here on this island.
I just cannot believe how accessible it is.
It's mind-blowing, really, when you think about its location, the ease of access from the mainland. I mean, this is a jewel that we have literally in our backyard. If you're anywhere in the vicinity, you've got to get yourself over there. It is just spectacular. Somewhere that every Australian, I think, should visit once in their life, at least.
World Heritage listed.
And for good reason too. I mean, it's incredible. The rainforest grows on a sand island, and that's just one of the many mind-blowing facts about this amazing, unique location.
Okay, we have got lots to share with you this week. We're going to start by leaving Kingfisher Bay Resort. We had an absolutely brilliant time on that side of the island. That is a world-class resort as well.
Yeah, it sure is. And again, such an easy holiday. You know, if you're jumping on that ferry as a passenger and you're not taking a vehicle over to the island, staying at Kingfisher is just awesome. You're going to be in holiday mode as soon as you land on the island. And there is so much to do on that western side of the island. But I tell you what, I was so excited to get in the Hilux and get back on those inland sand tracks to get over to the east coast.
Okay, the tyre pressure was a question that I have received a couple of times this week. Again, we dropped them to 18 PSI. I actually left 20 in the back tyres. That's because we had a fair bit of load, a little bit more weight in the back of the Hilux, and that would be a good recommendation if you're travelling and you've got a little bit more weight in the back than just a little bit more pressure. If you're travelling over there and the sand is incredibly soft, particularly if you're coming in from Inskip, you can definitely drop your tyres down to 12 PSI, depending on the load of your vehicle, the type of vehicle, but that would be our recommendation, particularly in those hotter months when the sand is really dry.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And we hit the island after quite a few months of very heavy rain. So the island was well and truly drenched, which also impacted those sand tracks. They were a lot harder than I imagine they would be in the height of summer when it's stupid hot with plenty of vehicles driving on those tracks.
That's a meteorology.
It's a technical term.
All right, now we're going to be taking you to Central Station as our first port of call, and this is really famously known because it was the place where all of the logging industry was happening back in the day.
Yeah, just incredible to think that, you know, hindsight, I suppose, is an amazing thing, but that's what was done back in those early years. And why not when you have these incredible trees on an island location like this? And they set up camp there at Central Station. It is a must, I think, for any visitor going to the island to actually go and walk around. There are still a few of the original buildings that remain there, and some of the old machinery that was used. And it's really interesting to read that history and get a grasp for how much they actually removed off the island.
It is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and that puts into perspective then how incredible the regeneration of this rainforest actually is.
Yes. Now, at Central Station, there is the kauri pines.
Oh, yeah. Be warned.
We did. We read a warning sign that said, beware of falling pine cones. Now, I said to Jasper, well, wouldn't really worry if it hit me on the head, but if it hit you, and then we read the sign closer and it said they can weigh up to 3 kilos, cause serious injury or death.
Imagine that. I mean, don't imagine that.
Don't imagine that.
At the best case scenario, you would have a major headache if you were hit on the head by one of those kauri pine cones. Pretty cool. The species of tree that grow on the island.
If cool is the right word I'd use.
Well, no, pretty cool from a fact that something really unique like a 3 kilo pine cone grows on the island.
Look, just a hot tip here, just take a stack hat with you.
That's pretty funny. We were safe, of course, and didn't see any falling pine cones, but it obviously must happen in order for them to put up a warning sign about it.
It's happened at least once, let's put it that way.
But look, it truly is very interesting, and the drive from Kingfisher over to Central Station is absolutely amazing because the bushland opens up into that real rainforest, you know, the more you get into the heart of the island. And it's just incredible. Like, you almost forget where you are, that you are actually on a sand island because of how amazing this rainforest is.
Absolutely beautiful. A little further down the road, only 5 minutes drive, is Pile Valley. This is famous again, a logging area for their saturnae trees. These massive, I mean, they grow, I think, as tall as 60 metres.
The trees here, they truly are. They are. You have to actually park up, get out of your vehicle and walk through the little tracks that are there for you to access these amazing giants. It is spectacular. We actually, Paul set up the GoPro and Jasper, Paul and myself tried to, wrap ourselves around the base of one of these trees. There's just not a chance. I mean, these are huge, old growth, amazing pieces of nature that are growing here.
I believe there's one tree in there where it takes 8 adults to link hands around the diameter of the base of the tree.
It's just incredible. Actually, I popped up a couple of images from Pile Valley on our Facebook page and our Instagram as well of Jasper cuddling the bases of these trees. And it certainly does give you a really good context for not only how huge and wide they are, but also how very, very tall they are.
Beautiful, beautiful location, and the sun flaring through those tall pines and the saturnaes. It was just absolutely stunning. We were incredibly blessed with good weather, given how wet the east coast of Australia has been. So,
and to be the only people there at the time that we visited was even more special. Yeah,
look, we are absolutely filled with gratitude for our time on Fraser. Okay, about 40 minutes drive further on now to Eurong. It is part of the 75-mile beach, and to Kagari Beach Resort, literally a resort on the beach. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is, and reminiscent of, those old school resorts that you'd find in places like Fiji, in those Pacific islands where there's a huge resort that overlooks an incredibly blue ocean. We were staying in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I have to say, as much as I loved being over at Kingfisher Bay and you're in that real, almost, it feels a bit fancy,
Fancy pants.
I loved staying here at the Kagari Beach Resort at Eurong because it felt like a full-on family holiday in our 2-bedroom style apartment. Now, these apartments weren't new by any stretch, but they'd been refurbished and they were huge, and we had a full kitchen, we had a full lounge room, we had this great balcony that overlooked the ocean. Of course, we had 2 bedrooms, and we had a bathroom that even had a bath in it. So Jasper loved that. And I just felt like if you were spending a week or so on this side of the island, this would be an awesome place to come home to after massive days out exploring all of the treasures, along 75 Mile Beach.
I think we've been a little conditioned into minimalistic, small spaces. So this place did feel huge. It is a very large apartment, king-size bed, beautiful balcony looking straight out over this massive, one of the largest resort-style pools I think we've ever seen. And then you keep your eyes going out through all of those palm tree fringed areas of Eurong and then straight out to that brilliant blue ocean, the Pacific calling. Oh, love it.
Yeah, it was just awesome. And I think to have those facilities, it's nice to be able to go and eat down at the restaurant like what we did. And they serve up great buffet breakfasts and dinners at the restaurant. And also, you can get pizzas and things like that as well. But if you were there for more than a few days, having a full kitchen, being able to take all of your groceries over with you, cook up some meals at home, really settle in. I really loved the feel and the vibe of this place.
I think you need at least a week if there is any way that you could, talk the boss around to stealing 2 weeks over there. Fantastic, because to go to the expense, not that it's huge, but the return ferry, I think, starts around $200 return, and then it goes up, from there, depending on supply and demand, up to, $500 return. So
yeah, and of course, what vehicle you're taking with you?
Yeah, you can definitely take your caravan over onto the East Coast, and we saw 2 full-size family bunk vans that had been towed.
How envious were we when we saw them? We were like, no.
Yeah, look, off road vehicles to be able to access and be able to actually accomplish that would be the best way to put it.
How awesome will that be? Drag your caravan up that 75 Mile Beach.
Love to do that.
Pretty good drone shots.
It would be amazing. And actually all the footage that we got on Fraser was, you could not take a bad shot.
No, no, definitely not. Certainly lends itself to photography, that's for sure. But you're right, Paul. The longer, the better, we think, over there, and particularly on that East Coast as well, because there is so much to get out and see and do along that stretch of 75 Mile Beach. And then, of course, you want to leave yourself some time to really enjoy the resort facilities as well. Kick back in that pool area. They had an awesome spa. There's also everything that you need there at Eurong with the general store. You can get anything that you need there. There's also
amazing.
Yeah, the famous bakery.
Look, it was International Donut Day when we were there. We knew that the bakery didn't. No, we should have let them know the day before. Yes, I think their donuts may have been there from the week before. They were a little chewy.
They were.
It didn't stop us.
But people do rave about that bakery. In fact, we had quite a few people on Fraser say to us, you got to stop in at the bakery.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up something tasty. You can also get fuel over there. So it really is the hub for the East Coast.
Okay. The other things to note here is that there is a reception area and laundry facilities.
Oh, yeah.
And a really fantastic car wash bay that allows you to drive your four-wheel drive straight off the beach and then have all of the underbody spray. Hot tip here, be prepared. It doesn't wait, and it's a very quick service, $10.30. Including the credit card fee.
Thank you very much. But so worth it.
So worth it.
Yeah, we did it every day that we came off the beach just to, as you said, Paul, get all of that salt water and sand, particularly from underneath the car where you just can't see it.
Even if you're not going anywhere near the ocean, which is a good idea to stay out of the salt water, the amount of, runoffs and
the washouts.
You can't help but at some point be kind of forced to drive through water and also the incoming tide, the salt water. It's just part of the trip.
Oh, yeah, that's true. In fact, we were quite blown away with how much water was actually coming off the island. And I guess, it had literally been drenched for like 3 months before we went over there. So a lot of water was coming off the island in those runouts or washouts or whatever you want to call them. And, of course, you've got to go through Eli Creek as well. So,
all right, let's talk about the highlights to really adventure out from here at Kagari Beach Resort. We, straight away that first afternoon, decided that we'll do a quick run, as in like almost an hour each way, up to the Maheno shipwreck. A quick note here is that we passed police patrols on the way across the island, and then each day that we drove on 75 Mile Beach, we were randomly pulled up and breathalyzed. That is a random breath test.
Well, they were pulling up every vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. And they were also checking modification plates if they suspected that you had modifications that were illegal.
Yeah, look, I think the poor guy we saw in front of us was in a little bit of pain that day, going through details on his vehicle. But good to know that they're there, I think, and keeping everybody safe. And it was low season, so it wasn't overly busy. But they were great, weren't they? They were certainly friendly enough and good to have a good chat to, and keeping everyone safe on the beach.
Apparently, the other thing they do quite regularly, but in busier seasons, is patrol speed. So you can see how people get a bit carried away. There is a limit of 80 kilometres now, which, to be honest, is probably about 20 kilometres now too fast, in our opinion.
Yeah, look, I really felt so too. I found it so much more enjoyable just from a taking in the view perspective when we were going just that little bit slower up and down the beach there. So interesting, but good to know that the police are there. How amazing is this Maheno, this shipwreck?
Yes.
It has been there since the 1930s, late 1930s. It was actually an old cruise liner that was being scrapped, and it was being towed over to Japan to become whatever you turn a big old ship into. I don't know.
Scrap metal,
basically. And there was an out-of-season weather event.
Cyclone.
Yes, and it obviously broke loose from the tow vehicle and was washed ashore here on the east coast of Fraser Island, which is where it has laid for, what's that? 80-something years.
Something like that.
And it's quite amazing. It's really beautiful, and especially if you can go up. I think sunrise would be spectacular, and also sunset. We were there very late afternoon as the colours of the sky was changing and reflecting in the water. And it really is beautiful. If you're an avid photographer, this is a place to go.
I tell you, it is also regarded as one of the best fishing locations on the island.
Oh, yes, we saw that dude out there. What did he catch? That was massive.
It was a massive jewfish.
A jewfish. There you go. I don't even know what that is, but it's big.
Yeebita. He kissed it and threw it back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't sharing it with anyone.
No, but it is a really beautiful spot. And it's only about 10 to 15 minutes further past Eli Creek, which we'll come back to and talk about, which is another highlight.
Okay, we have to also say that we were fingers crossed, everything crossed, that we would see a dingo.
Yes. Well, especially because we sat through that really great, informative ranger talk back at Kingfisher Bay and learnt all about the Fraser Island dingoes and their life cycle and what makes them so unique, and all of the safety measures that they're putting in place on the island to keep visitors safe. So we left that and we were like, we got to see a dingo, man.
We saw 5 individually. They are a pack animal, particularly back at their den, and there is reportedly between 200 and 300. It's a little loose, isn't it? Dingoes, I guess because they ebb and flow with their population. They're the most purebred dingoes found in Australia on Fraser Island.
Gee, they're beautiful too, and it was so cool just to see them in their natural environment, and they weren't fussed by anybody or any of the vehicles. And talk about owning the beach though, like vehicles had to basically pull up because the dingo was just like, yep, this is my home, mate. You're going to stop for me because I ain't moving. I really loved seeing the dingoes right down on the shoreline, digging in the sand.
Getting the pippies.
Yes, so cool.
They're like little clams if you're not familiar with what a pippy is. Yeah, that was very cool indeed.
It was awesome. Look, a great native animal on the island to watch from afar. Obviously, you do want to educate yourself with all of the dingo information before going.
I think it is that they look remarkably like a domestic dog, and they are, as the sign says, very different and incredibly dangerous with younger ones, particularly kids. You know, the instinct, I think, of a young kid or anyone really, if you feel threatened by a dog, is to run. Well, they just see you as prey, and they obviously can cause death. Seriously, there's been some horrible incidents over the years. So just, like you say, educate yourself up on this, but be aware and all's good.
Yeah, look, I was really impressed with that Rangers information talk that we sat in on and just understanding the practices that they've had in place and the I guess the safety information that they've been putting out to visitors over this last period of time really is working, and it's so much safer for guests. It's so much safer and better for the dingoes. So it really is about education and knowing for you as a visitor to the island, knowing how to and not to interact with these animals for everybody's safety. So yeah, I was really impressed with that.
I think the number one thing that I took away from it is, they're definitely not a dog. So don't try and feed them. Don't leave your scraps lying around. Keep your eye on your kids.
Yep.
And just keep your distance. Give them their space.
Yeah, absolutely. Respect them, and they'll do likewise. Like, we actually had a dingo wandering around when we were out of the car at Eli Creek, which again we'll come back to in a minute. He wasn't interested in us or anybody else there in the slightest. He was just doing his thing, and nobody there was paying too much attention other than, snapping a few photographs.
What do they say? Don't be afraid, just be aware.
Yeah.
Use your brains and also stick together. Don't run. All right, let's move on from dingoes. One cool fact about the dingoes is that only on Kagari, Fraser Island, do they have white socks, little white feet, white paws, and every single dingo has either 1, 2, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that's a unique marking for Fraser.
I wonder if that's some evolutionary thing to do with being on a sand island.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a good point. Possibly.
Yeah. Be interesting to talk to somebody about that.
Yeah, someone who knows.
Yeah, one of the Indigenous elders or something, I'm sure would know.
Yeah, the Butchulla people. All right, we might have to look into that. Come back to you. All right, well, let's now take you up to probably one of the highlights of our entire time there, and that is Champagne Pools. I mean, even the name, it's like the best name you could give.
How do you make that noise?
Yeah.
That one.
That's pretty good. Champagne Pools, it lived up to its name, and the pictures and the reports and, the feedback from our friends and family that have been there. It is stunning location. It's a good hour and 45 minutes drive from the resort on the east coast.
Least.
So you really want to monitor the tide times because they ebb and flow, obviously, but they change the contour of the beach, and if you're stuck, then you're stuck, for 6 hours. So
yeah, look, the official advice put out by the island is not to drive on the beach 2 hours pre and post high tide. So just take that into account. What's really great,
that's a little conservative, but stick to that and you won't go wrong.
Yeah, look, they give you all of that information when you arrive on the island as well. So you've got actually everything you need to hand, as well as all of the tide times for your period on the island, if you are, of course, staying at one of the resorts. So it was great for us. We did a bit of planning, looked at the tide times. Okay, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do tomorrow? Heading up to Champagne Pool. So what a spectacular drive. And as you said, Paul, how the island had changed just from the previous day with the tides coming in and going out was awesome.
Amazing.
There's a decent amount of pretty gnarly four-wheel driving to be had as you're headed up to that northern end of the East Coast as well. There was certainly some moments where I held my breath and hung on.
It's exciting, but it's certainly not difficult. I
No.
would say at times it's intermediate level, but if you've been there a few days, then you're kind of edging up into that category. I think it's fair to say, look, it's certainly not difficult, and if you use your brain and you take your time and just don't overspeed. Like, don't think I've really got to give it a lot here to get up this because the sand's soft. I think it is just steady speed, momentum.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Control. Right tire pressure is the biggest one.
Yeah, and yeah, just really, using your brain, I think. The first day that we went, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know about this. And then we drove up again the next day. I said, I think I even said to you, I'm not sure what we were worried. Well, I say we. I'm not sure what I was worried about. Like, we've got this. It's actually a lot easier than when you maybe first see it. I think because there's a lot of rock crossings as well, and there were some bits that were still underlying with a bit of excess water.
Eli Creek would be at least a foot and a half deep in some areas. So, yeah, obviously you don't want to get stuck in the creek bed. So, yeah, I think it's also taking, 5 minutes and waiting for someone else to cross.
Yeah. Yep, follow the leader.
It's a good idea. If they get stuck, don't follow.
Well, look, we talked to quite a few different people on the island, and the majority of those were people who were regulars. Mm-hmm. So that's also another good tip. You're never going to be too far from somebody who knows the island a lot better than you if it's your first visit.
Excellent. Okay, just coming now back towards the resort, and really only 10 minutes drive from Champagne Pools is Indian Head. And given the onshore wind and the direction, this was a perfect little secluded spot. Again, the only ones there. Look, you're passing people every 5 to 10 minutes, so it's not like you're completely alone or you're not going to get, recovered if you get stuck. But it was just such a beautiful time of year to go because it was still plenty warm enough for us to, get in and out of the water, and then to set up ourselves for the afternoon and cook some beach pizzas on the Weber on the back of the Hilux. I love this. Was my highlight of our whole time on Fraser Island. Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. And Jasper just playing in the sand and making use of some of the awesome equipment that we've got in the back of the Hilux as well. I put it, actually, again, I'm going to say I put a post up on our socials that basically said, like, this is living. It was so awesome. Kick the thongs off, feet in the sand, prepping up some lunch, the sound of the ocean. You can't see any other vehicles. I actually felt like we could have been anywhere. It reminded me so much of Waikiki in Hawaii with that massive green headland and then the blue ocean, and we saw some beautiful wildlife while we were there as well. I just quickly want to say, because we kind of brushed over it because we got carried away talking about four-wheel driving, but Champagne Pools are naturally formed rock pools, and they get their name from the waves that crash on into the rock pools and create like a bit like a jacuzzi, like a spa with all the bubbles. Very safe swimming. In fact, we've heard from lots of our YouTube audience that they went there as kids or they took their kids there when they were little as well. And the boardwalk at Champagne Pools is an amazing vantage point to really take in, the scope of that part of the island.
So beautifully presented again, and Parks and Wildlife have done a fantastic job, as they do in Australia, to present these areas and make them accessible.
Yeah, just awesome. Anyway.
Now listen, on our beach pizzas, we love this, particularly when you're pimping your own pizzas, because you can make them pretty healthy and still super delicious.
Yeah, we had actually lots of comments. Ooh, what's on the pizzas? We do a pretty good pizza these days. We love a pesto veggie pizza. Jasper's partial to a cheesy garlic pizza. Honestly, it can't get any easier. If you've got a Weber in the back of your truck like we do, pop it on the tailgate, plug it in. plug it in, hook it up to the gas bottle.
I think the real key to pizza on the Weber is preheat on 10 minutes on high, drop it down to around medium, have a trivet and a pizza stone.
Yes.
And you are away.
Yeah, you are. And then I just whipped them up. Actually, we picked up a new product from MSA 4x4 accessories that we love. You know, we've got the fridge slide and we've got those amazing drawers that keep us organised in the back of the Hilux now. We picked up a clip-on table for our fridge slide, and that was so good because normally I'm kind of jostling on the back of the tailgate to have space to prep. That little table was amazing, and it comes with this cool little pocket that you just strap on, and you've got all your utensils in there and your chopping board. And I felt like the full professional, you know, beach camper.
I love good gear.
Yeah, it is amazing gear actually.
Gear for life. That's their motto, their slogan, and
I think what it's done
brilliant.
is it's just totally enhanced. You know, you're there and you're in an amazing environment, so you're having a good time anyway. But then when you've got things that just either make things easier or work better or save you time, like tick, 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 it totally enhances your experience. So, you know, I love that on the sides of this little table as well, there's two bottle openers, one on each side. And, you know, Paul tried to tell me that they were for left and right-handed people. I actually think they're his and hers. They're a matching pair. But so awesome, you know, we had our 0 beers.
I know,
One
look out.
each. We had a 0 beer each, which was nice. We had prepping up the pizza. It was so awesome. I know why you think it was your highlight because it definitely was a standout.
Oh, yeah. And look, and actually on the 0 beers, on the way back to the resort, I was breathalyzed again.
Yes. Hello, officer. Good to see you again.
Exactly. And he was like, "Oh, mate, how's your non-drinking going?" I said, "Yeah, really good." And actually, I have to say, I am now 8.5 weeks into my 1 year abstinence. I don't know if I've spoke about this.
I
on
know.
the
I was
podcast.
going to say. I think this is the actual announcement.
There you go. 1 year. Unbelievable.
So good. You're doing amazing.
I've got a bet with my older brother, and I tell you what, I'm going to win that bet. I am. That's
You're
good. I'm
doing
feeling
well.
good.
Yeah, good. We'll keep getting progress reports from you.
Okay, listen, we're going to wrap up here. Just before we leave the island, though, we headed back across after we had our final night, and gee, we slept well. You sleep so well when you're out and about and adventuring, don't you?
Oh, especially when you're in the sun and the sand and the surf. It just, for Jasper in particular, he was just zonked so much so that he'd even fall asleep in the back of the car, which he just does not do anymore. Like he'll fight that till their nth degree. But he fell asleep in the back of the car when we were going over those inland four-wheel drive tracks. So, you know, he was like a bobblehead in the back of the Hilux. But he was just pooped. So good.
Zonked. Don't you love that word? And it's 30-kilometre inland road speed limit. So, you know, it is pretty bumpy and moving around. That's right. And he just...
Yeah, he was
fantastic.
done. Love it.
But back onto the other side of the island, before we got back on our ferry, we were able to enjoy the West Coast Adventurer, high-powered, really open-air speedboat that takes about, I think, 35 or 40 passengers. There was only maybe half a dozen of us.
Yeah.
And we got to scoot around for 3.5 hours. They provided a small kind of ploughman's sort of afternoon tea, really, which was really great. Jasper loved the Anzac biscuit in there, didn't he?
That was actually really good. It was so nice, though, to get that perspective of the Great Sandy Straits that obviously run on the west coast between the mainland and Fraser Island.
Look, the highlight was the pod of dolphins that then joined up with another pod of dolphins, and amazing. That was just so wonderful, wasn't it?
Oh, so there is nothing better than seeing wildlife in the wild, doing what they're doing, you know, oblivious to anything else. And they literally came right up to the side of the boat. Just absolutely beautiful. The bird life out there as well was spectacular.
And look, then we had our own private beach up the northwest corner of the island, and Yeah. Just the family just walk along, hold hands.
Miles and miles of
Just
sand and nothing else.
Really special moment to be able to share with your family. So what have we got to say except book it? Just book it.
Yeah.
It is so accessible. Let's actually move on then to our takeaway, and that is that life is not a rehearsal.
No.
My dad used to say this to me as a kid, and I get it now.
Mm.
You know?
Look, I think it's actually a really good takeaway for this week because just in putting this amazing footage, this 2-part series of Fraser Island out there, and the amount of people that have said to us, you know, like, we live locally but we've never been, and it's been on our list forever. You know, just go. Just get out there and go. We're so blessed in this country to have so many amazing things like this at our fingertips.
And get a group of people together, and even if you've got your swags, you know, camping canvas on Fraser Island.
Oh, amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you have got your parks pass that you have to consider and your ferry.
And your vehicle pass.
But honestly, it's so accessible. It's a World Heritage listed area. It's world class. Just do it. Just make a plan, make it happen, because you will then probably want to try and figure out how to make it a tradition.
Yeah, 100%. I'm already trying to plan when we can get back over to the island.
Yeah, so good. Okay, into the newsroom. Caravan Industry Association of Australia, it's a mouthful, isn't it? Have just released their financial year report. And we wanted to share some of those stats.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting actually to read how this industry continues to boom, you know, even over this last year with the continuation of border closures and restrictions, and then, of course, all of the crazy weather events that the country has experienced along the way as well. Caravanning and camping has definitely boomed, and it is still on the rise.
All right, let's get through some of these numbers. 12.6 million road trips taken by Aussies.
Yeah, amazing.
That equated to 50 million nights spent out camping. Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that cool?
I love that.
I wonder how many of those were ours.
Yeah, well, we'd probably count for a few hundred. 7.4 billion in visitor expenditure. What about this next one, Katie?
What's this next one? 24,000 RVs manufactured.
Unbelievable. And 95% of those were towable.
Yeah.
That is that they were needed to be towed behind a tow vehicle.
Yeah, it's amazing. This one blows me away. 772,500 RVs that are registered in this country.
Unbelievable. That's 30 RVs per 1,000 people. And finally, it's almost hitting $24 billion in revenue.
Yeah, economic impact.
That's right, dollars annually. That is unbelievable.
It is amazing. It's so brilliant, and it's testament again to just how incredible this country is, and also that more and more people are getting the bug, are getting that, you know, I want to get out there and experience it vibe, and I want to do it now, and I want to do it with my family or with my kids while they're still young. It is so super cool. I'm excited to see where this next 12 months takes it, you know.
Well, listen, speaking on that, in a couple of weeks we have got some very big news about our own plans.
Ooh.
A couple of new vehicles coming our way.
Super duper exciting times ahead.
Been incredibly long plan and in parts a pretty long part of our dream and our journey, so we can't wait to share that with you.
Ooh, teaser.
Next week we are headed to a unique campground. We're going to be talking all about RV comms, the communication devices that we've used across our 2.5, almost 3 years on the road. Everything we've tried, the pros, the cons, and we're going to be featuring Starlink.
Yes, so many questions about Starlink. Awesome.
Okay, I really do think that is it for this week.
Yeah, it is. Look, we could have talked so much more about Fraser Island. Do yourself a favour, if you haven't already, watch those YouTube episodes. They will inspire you to make a plan to get over there.
I know. You know, all you really need to do, pack your swag, pack your hammock,
some fresh water and a bit of food, and off you go.
Done. Love it. All right, for
Take your
now.
husband if he's nice to you.
Always nice. All right, for now, dream big, look after yourself, look after your family.
And happy trails. I didn't mean you, Dal. You're always nice to me, of course.
No, I know. We're very fortunate, actually. We do count our blessings that we actually get along and we like each other in this tiny little space. And we'll also talk about this van you've seen in the background.
Whose is it?
Not our van.
Where did it come from?
It is a loaner van, but we'll tell you about that next week. All right.
Awesome. Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.